I typically tend to be the type of person who likes to be objective and critical of entertainment, even about things that I grew up with and loved as a kid. Nostalgia can tend to cloud our vision when we look back at things that we loved in the past, and sometimes looking back at things that we once loved and realizing that they aren't that great can be disheartening. For example, I used to speak super highly of the Cartoon Network show Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends because I absolutely loved it as a kid. I remembered how funny the cheese episodes were, how cool I thought Wilt was, and how much I related to Mac because we had a similar stupid looking haircut. And when I saw the show was on Hulu, I was so ready to go on a nostalgic binge. However, upon watching a few episodes again for old time's sake, I realized the show kinda sucks. It's not like aggressively bad or anything, but I just didn't think the humor held up well at all, and I decided to turn it off super quickly. Sometimes it's funny to look back at things you blindly consumed in years past and laugh at it. I still wonder to this day why my young self put so many hours into Mario is Missing, but sometimes it can be disheartening when that illusion is shattered when you go back to things that you used to love in hopes of reminiscing and feeling a sense of comfort. However, Animal Crossing is a series that I grew up with that will always bring me joy and will always be one of my favorites, no matter how critical I try to be about it. The first time I encountered Animal Crossing was when I was over at a friend's house. We were all gathered around a little CRT discussing GameCube games we liked, and one of my friends popped in Animal Crossing to show us his progress on his town. From the second that I saw his character emerge from his house and start running around this peaceful town, I was captivated. I was mostly just familiar with games like Mario, where you run, jump, and defeat enemies and stuff, but I had never seen a game where all you do is just your civic duty. And I was instantly hooked looking at all of the different villagers that you could get in your town, all the fish that you can catch, and all the furniture that you can put in your house. So, fast forward a few years and Animal Crossing Wild World comes out on the DS. My parents were always pretty strongly opposed to the idea of violent video games, so when they heard me talking about a game where you build a town and make friends, they had no problem putting that game under the Christmas tree. Once I had a copy of Animal Crossing for myself, I couldn't wait to start customizing a town of my own. Animal Crossing starts out pretty uniquely. Depending on which game you start with, your entrance to your new life looks a bit different. If you're playing one of the older games, you're moving to a new town, and you're discussing your future plans with some guy who insisted on sitting next to you, or a nosy cab driver. Seriously, Rover is one of my favorite characters in the series, but he just kind of forces himself into the seat across from you, and starts asking you questions about who you are, where you're moving to, if you have two forms of ID. Like, man, if I encountered somebody like this in real life, I'd have my music up so loud in my headphones that even the driver could hear what I was listening to. After you get dropped off into town, you'll find a place to live and realize that you just got yourself into a mortgage agreement with the town's local shopkeeper, Tom Nook. Tom Nook actually tells you that he's totally fine with you paying it back whenever you feel like, and literally never asks you about it afterwards. Tom Nook then just asks you to run some errands for him in return. Some people find these errands to be annoying, but personally, I think they're an excellent way to help the player familiarize themselves with the town's layout and the important locations that they will be frequenting for the rest of their playthrough. It teaches players how to plant greenery, write letters, talk to villagers, and get items, and even how to post on the bulletin board. Now, if you're playing New Leaf, this process is actually expedited. You get off the train, realize this town just made you mayor because they just heard you're the new mayor. You set down a plot of land for your house, there's a little ceremony, and that's it. You are now free to move about the cabin. Now, not everything is available for you immediately. You have to get your approval rating up to be able to start building stuff, but you're given full control over how you spend your time pretty quickly. New Horizons is pretty much the polar opposite of this. It stretches the main tutorial period out over multiple days as you're starting completely from scratch on a deserted island. Each day, there are new tasks for you to complete to start building a civilization on this island, and over the course of multiple days, you see your island slowly progress into a village. To give an idea as to how long this process takes, the hourly music, which is a staple aspect of the series, isn't introduced to New Horizons until you unlock the Resident Services building, which takes a minimum of 8 days. Each game has a unique way of easing you into the world, and I honestly think that each game's introduction style has its merits. While I did get pretty fatigued with New Horizons' slow intro, I think it's perfect for a lot of the new players that are just getting into the series, and was probably really helpful to let people learn what they can do in the game and help people feel like they're making progress. Animal Crossing begins with a promise of a lovable world that you influence, and it absolutely delivers on that promise. Animal Crossing has this intriguing way of incentivizing its players to work at building their towns. You're barely given any direction in the series. Usually there's no tasks to complete, no objective to work towards. In the grand scheme of things, what you do with your town is completely up to you. New Horizons does add some small tasks with the Nook Miles system, but these are small micro goals to get you to squeeze more playtime out of each session. The macro goals, or the major goals you're working towards, are almost exclusively up to you. Are you more interested in fishing and bug catching? Looking to have the biggest house possible and deck it out with cool furniture? Do you want to build a strong relationship with your villagers so that way they give you a signed photograph? All of these goals are completely viable, and it's up to you as to what you do. This makes everyone's experience tailored to them, which makes sharing your progress much more interesting. Animal Crossing has allowed lots of people to express themselves creatively, working within the limited structure of the game's mechanics to create the town that they want. One person may use patterns to create a super creative themed town. Meanwhile, my young self liked to plant trees literally everywhere because he thought the fruit looked cool and that it was the best way to make money. Animal Crossing does have its limitations. Some buildings can't be moved, trees need to be planted in certain ways, and some aspects of your town may impede on your progress. While some people understandably find this annoying, I find it endearing. It's awesome that you can essentially design the layout of your town to be whatever you want it to be in New Horizons, and I've seen people make some absolutely insane looking towns as a result. However, I really enjoyed the simplicity of the first games, finding out how to use the resources the game gives you to the absolute maximum. I always found it interesting seeing what people did with their trees, flowers, and patterns in their towns. The characters are such a massively important aspect of the series. There are currently 397 unique villagers that you could potentially get in your town, and they all have a unique catchphrase, personality, and even a home designed specifically for them. Growing up, the social aspect of the series was probably my favorite. I loved getting to go around to all my villagers and talk to them and see what funny or interesting dialogue they had for me today. I loved getting cool new villagers to move into my town, and whenever one of them would try to move out, I remember I used to write them letters trying to convince them not to move out, because I didn't know that you could just talk to them enough and convince them to stay. The writing of the game was so clever and would always make me laugh, even when the characters were brutally mean in the GameCube game. The character designs are honestly excellent as well. You'd think that with all these villagers that a lot of them would be pretty forgettable, but a lot of these villagers have very fun and interesting designs that really made them stick out in my memory. I love the unique character designs of villagers like Static, Kid Cat, Lucky, and Stitches, and the cute villagers like Goldie, Peanut, and Molly are super memorable too. However, the special character designs are truly where the genius lies. Each of these characters have a super lovable, memorable design that were always a delight to encounter. These characters have so much personality that you can tell what they're all about just by looking at them. At a quick glance, you can immediately tell that Brewster is a reserved, artsy coffee shop holder, that Gracie is a fashion-forward icon, and that Red is sketchy, but for some reason he seems just nice enough that you might trust him a little bit. Animal Crossing does an excellent job of attaching a lovable, memorable character to every mechanic that is available to the player. The game wants you to learn how to save correctly so badly, they created an angry mole character with a brother and a secret place of work just to scold you and remind you to save. Even simple mechanics like visiting other towns has a unique character attached to it, so that way it sticks in your mind as to who you need to talk to get things done. Not to mention, there are special characters that you will only meet on certain holidays in game. If you want to meet Franklin, you gotta play on Thanksgiving Day. Are you curious as to what Pave is all about? Play on Festival and find out. I could go on for hours talking about how much I love these character designs. I would also be doing Animal Crossing a disservice if I didn't talk about its genius sound design. The music to this game is so iconic and lovable that it has become staple background music in a lot of popular YouTube videos. As I mentioned before, there are songs for each hour of the day in Animal Crossing that change depending on the weather. Not to mention the amount of shop themes and songs that you can get from KK Slider on Saturdays. Animal Crossing music is so relaxing, charming, and calming that I always listen to it while I work, and it always fills me with a nostalgic joy. It's so hard to pick a favorite soundtrack in the series, but if I had to, I'd probably pick New Leaf. Here's a selection of some of my favorite songs. The sound effects are also genius too, from catching a bug or fish, to planting trees, to entering and exiting your house and hearing your town tune. The sound effects in Animal Crossing fit the aesthetic of the game perfectly and provide such satisfying feedback. The sound design in Animal Crossing complements the gameplay exceptionally well, and it adds to the series' charm. When I think of the Animal Crossing series, one word instantaneously jumps to mind: community. The series creator, Katsuya Eguchi, has stated that his inspiration for the series came from when he was forced to move far away from his family when he started working for Nintendo. He strived to create an experience that was tailored around social interaction and community, and many of the future installments' features, like internet connectivity, were inspired by events that took place in Nintendo employees' personal lives. Animal Crossing was always a huge deal with my circle of family and friends. Almost everyone in my family had a copy of Animal Crossing Wild World on DS years and years ago, and I remember that on Thanksgiving Day, my cousins, brothers, and I would all gather around, show each other our towns, and trade fruits together. Animal Crossing had this natural pull that brought us all together, and even my parents got hooked on the fishing and bug catching aspects of the game. When we all eventually upgraded to Animal Crossing City Folk, we'd send each other letters over the internet, and we used to love to visit each other's towns and introduce ourselves to each other's villagers. My friends all got interested in it too, and we used to have a blast setting up fishing competitions and races for each other. You know how a lot of kids heard a lot of fake rumors about video games on the playground back before the internet was really big? Rumors about how you could unlock Sonic and Melee and Me Outfit C in Mario Kart Wii were some of the most common rumors that a lot of kids fell for. But for my group of friends, we all believed a bunch of Animal Crossing lies. I distinctly remember that one of my friends told me that if you hit an animal with an axe, you'd actually chop off their head. I was so scared that this rumor was true that I refused to buy an axe in-game for so long, until I eventually found out it was completely fake. I have so many fond memories of spending time with friends and family playing Animal Crossing together, but the online community has also added to my enjoyment of the series. The online community for Animal Crossing has always been one of my favorite gaming communities, and was a huge inspiration to get me to start talking about games with others and even to start this channel. I remember watching OG Animal Crossing content creators like JVGS Jeff and Larian95 do town tours of their city folk towns, and it inspired me to make a terrible town tour video of my own. There were all kinds of forums for Animal Crossing on sites like Animal Crossing Community, where users would share patterns with one another, trade, and just discuss the game. I remember back in the city folk era of Animal Crossing, I saw so many great ideas for towns. I heard of unique challenges and online games that people came up with, and I even found out that the game had a hacking scene, which I found absolutely fascinating. It's crazy to me that in New Horizons, a lot of the stuff that I saw people hacking into City Folk and Wild World is now a series feature, like deciding where buildings go and even terraforming your town structure. Animal Crossing's community has grown exponentially this year as well. New Horizons has been out for 8 months as of recording this video, and it is already the best-selling game in the series, doubling New Leaf sales. New Horizons has reached millions and millions of people, and it makes me so happy to see people sharing their islands and enjoying the series so much. Even though I have my critiques of New Horizons, the fact that people are having so much fun with the series and are getting a fun and creative way to interact with others in a time where people need it the most is heartwarming. I truly don't think that you can go wrong by choosing any entry in the series, and I'd like to go over a bit of what I like about each entry in the series and why I think everybody should give these games a shot. The original GameCube title deserves a lot of respect because of how genre-defining it was at the time. The rolling log world generation wasn't in this game, so this game has a very unique feel to it that the other games don't. The original GameCube game feels so cozy and relaxing, and while you can't customize your town as much as you can in the later games, the fishing and bug catching feels super satisfying. Not to mention, this game also has some of the funniest writing in the series, period. The animals can be so brutal for literally no reason, and it's so funny. The game also has a lot of features that haven't returned yet, like the Game Boy Advance Island, playable NES games, the lottery, and tons of exclusive events like morning aerobics. The soundtrack also stands apart from the rest and has this quirky funkiness to it, and it's resulted in some of the best songs of the series. If you couldn't tell from the rest of this video, Wild World is the game in the series that I'm most nostalgia blind for. However, I still think that this game has merits that are worth checking out or replaying for. Firstly, Wild World took more of a global approach to holidays, meaning that instead of celebrating culture-specific holidays like Easter, Wild World came up with its own events and holidays that I think are so much fun, and I'm sad that they haven't returned. Some of these events include Bright Nights, where all of your villagers decorate their houses with lights and you have to judge as to which house has the best decor, Flower Fest, which is a gardening competition to see who has the best garden, and even random weekend events like Yay Day, where you have to give compliments to the villagers. This game even provides lore about Tom Nook and the Able sisters if you build your relationship with them. This game also features Cornimer, he's just fantastic. This game also features super clever writing, from the villagers to special visitors like Lyle, who makes his debut here selling rip-off insurance. This game is filled to the brim with charm. City Folk received a bit of flack at release, and I totally understand why. This game was marketed pretty poorly and kind of seemed like an upgraded port of Wild World. They even share the same soundtrack, which I still hold very near and dear to my heart. However, I still look back at City Folk positively, despite some flaws. It was on the Wii, so they did kind of force you to use the pointer functionality for a lot of stuff, and the grass deterioration mechanic was just flat out bad. This being said, I love that City Folk introduced pro patterns to the series, allowing characters to customize their clothes in ways that they couldn't in previous games. City Folk meshed a lot of the positives of the original game and Wild World, adding new silver tools and an all-new city shopping center. Here, you could go to all kinds of shops that you used to only be able to go to when they would randomly show up in your town, which was super cool. Going to the marquee every day to get a new emotion, then going to GracieGrace to shop way outside of your tax bracket was seriously so much fun. The city was a really fun and neat way to round City Folk out as an overall really fun experience. Animal Crossing New Leaf is my favorite game in the series, and probably my favorite game of all time. New Leaf added so much to the series by changing your role from citizen to mayor. It added public works projects that you could construct, giving players so much more creative control over their towns and what they can look like. New Leaf also gave so many lovable characters new roles, and created many series staple characters like Reese and Cyrus, Digby, and of course Harvey. Oh yeah, and Isabelle too, who really stands side by side with Tom Nook now as the series mascot. New Leaf added so much content that it's honestly difficult to cover all of it, but here are just a few new features that were added. It added the swimming ability, creating deep sea creatures as a new creature archetype for characters to collect. New buildings were added too, like the Dream Suite, Kick's Shoe Shop, and my personal favorite, the Cafe. You could also go to the remote Tortimer Island and buy exclusive items and even play minigames with friends. I have over 800 hours in New Leaf, and it was the first game I bought after working my first job. I love New Leaf, and I think that most Animal Crossing fans will absolutely love it too. There's a very good chance that you've already played New Horizons, so I don't really need to sing its praises. Like I mentioned before, I have some complaints with what I would prefer to see in New Horizons, but I would absolutely be lying to you if I told you that New Horizons is anything less than genius. Firstly, the game looks absolutely stunning, and has really mastered the online mechanics to allow people to connect more conveniently than ever before. This game is also much more inclusive than the other games in the series, adding more hairstyles and skin tones, which is seriously great and was honestly long overdue. I also love how much creative freedom the game gives you, allowing you to place furniture outside and terraform your island to your liking. I've seen so many people much more creative than myself come up with some super cool towns, and it's awesome to see. If you own a Switch and you haven't picked this game up, seriously consider it. They're regularly updating the game and consistently adding new content, so there will be more and more to do as time goes on. Animal Crossing will always be my favorite cozy series to relax, unwind, and enjoy. No matter what game it is that I'm playing in the series, it always seems to help melt my stress away. Animal Crossing is what got me into the life sim genre, and got me to play games that I now love, like Tomodachi Life and Stardew Valley. If you have cabin fever being stuck at home, I highly recommend you pick up one of the Animal Crossing games, and I hope you enjoy building your new life in your new community.